Hey guys, what's up? MadSeason here, back with another video for you. The winner of this month's Patreon poll is another part in my rare / interesting item series, where I share and talk about some of the cooler items that I happen to own. This is part 4 in the series, and I got 10 more relics of the past to show you, so let's get into it. To start off here, I don't have an actual item for you, but rather a character. In my memory series, I mentioned how I leveled in Undead Rogue before the Burning Crusade expansion launched. I still have him at level 60 actually, and I haven't really touched him since Classic, aside from some odd PvP here and there. So he's pretty much a time capsule filled with all sorts of items that I'd like to show you. First up here, we have some empty poison vials. As you know, rogues used to coat their weapons with poisons, and they're moved over to abilities instead in the Cataclysm expansion. At the same time, these inventory poisons turned into vendor trash poison vials, and I still have them today. I also have some old arrows back when hunters had ammo, and also when these classes had dedicated slots for both melee and ranged. Rogue is of course a melee class, but they could still have a ranged weapon equipped for pulling mobs or just for the stats. I was using the Bloodseeker crossbow with these wicked arrows it looks like, even though I'm pretty sure crossbows fire bolts, not arrows, so I'm not sure what's going on with that, but whatever. And we also have some items that I already went over in previous parts. The Thieves' Tools, the Argent Dawn Commission, and so on. For my PvP rank, I made it to Senior Sergeant, which is just rank 4, and as for my gear, it's all from PvP. Now, I didn't grind out rank 14 back then. In patch 2.0, which was the Burning Crusade pre-patch, they revamped the honor system, and they made it so anyone could buy the High Warlord gear with just honor points, which was the new currency. Before this, you needed the rank, and you just used gold instead. I remember at the time, there was quite an uproar about this on the forums from people who actually grinded out the rank 14 gear, and rightfully so I thought, because it was such a tough grind. And now all of a sudden everyone can get everything in a couple of days basically. So as you can see, I took full advantage of this and I got the full set, and the odds and ends are from Battleground reputation vendors. So pretty neat I think. I've made it a point to keep this character at level 60 forever to commemorate the end of vanilla World of Warcraft. I do have another horde that I leveled on the same server. I didn't quite make it to 60, but this is my Orc Hunter, and this is another blast from the past. Some of you may recognize this classic leveling gear, mainly from the level 30ish to 40ish zones of course, and in my inventory we have some more ammo, various old quest items for quests that are long removed from the game, old formulas that are no longer learnable, and for my blank guild tabard, it looks like I used to be in a guild, but they booted me. Come on, I've only been offline for 13 years, what gives? 3 days and 19 hours to get to level 41? That's not too bad actually. I was a hunter though, and they were the easiest class to level back then. In part 2, I mentioned my old Zul'Farrak coins and bijous. The next one isn't really an item either, but rather a reputation, so it might be cheating, but the Zandalar tribe was the faction tied to Zul'Farrak, and I wanted to talk about this one since it was removed in the Cataclysm expansion when they changed it to a 5-man dungeon, so very few people have this maxed out at Exalted. Those coins and bijous were used for reputation grinding, and you can get some pretty interesting rewards. Most notably, a 5-piece set, which unfortunately I don't have, but using a script to see if I completed the quests that awarded them, I at least had them at some point. The rogue one was called the Madcap set, which had 5 pieces total, 3 armor pieces, an amulet, and a trinket, and each of these would have special effects that were unique to each class. I wish I could say that I still had them, but the Exalted reputation and the completed quests will have to do I guess. Next, moving to the current game here, we have some elixirs of the Rapid Mind. Increase experience gained from monsters and quests by 300% for 15 minutes. So quite the powerful item here. There were a couple ways of obtaining these, both removed ever since the Legion expansion. You could either get them from garrison missions from Draenor, or from the Savage Gift caches during the Christmas event. So, since the ability to get these was removed a couple of years ago, They're quite rare these days, fetching a price of over 80,000 gold on average for most servers. I've hung on to these not really for leveling, but rather as sort of a trophy. One of the first ever popular videos that I made was a guide on how to use these as efficiently as possible. I made custom routes and optimized things with add-ons and waypoints, and I optimized it enough to get from level 90 to 100 in under 2 hours. My fastest was just over an hour once I knew what I was doing. So I put this into video form, and I think it's a big reason why I'm even still making videos. I got lots of good feedback for it, and it helped a lot of people, which really fueled me to make more stuff until it eventually turned into what it is today. So I've kept these for more of a symbol than anything of when I started the YouTube channel, and they're pretty important to me. They'll probably be there forever. Another one from Draenor here, we have the Wand of Death. Now this is a pretty interesting item, I think. Also one that's no longer available. From what I understand, not only was the source removed, but it was also removed from every player's inventory as well in patch 6.1, and the only way people were able to save them was if they had them in the mail or if they were in a guild bank, and through sheer luck, I had this one in the mail from an expired auction. And it's another pretty powerful one, as you can see. It just straight up kills any level 100 NPC enemies in the Ashran PvP island. The island itself is also something that's no longer available to play, but it's basically like Wintergrasp. It's a world PvP area with some objectives mixed in. It was very reminiscent of the old Altric Valley, where there were a ton of NPCs and even giant elementals to spawn, so this wand was super useful for clearing out waves of enemies. The end goal was to kill the enemy faction's leader, so they would pull him with all of the guards, and then use this wand to clear out all of the fodder and make things easy mode. It was a little too useful, I guess though, because they removed it like I said, but if they ever bring back Ashran, I'll be ready. One of these days. But going back to classic content here, we have a bunch of miscellaneous Shadowcraft and Wildheart pieces. These are the Tier 0 dungeon sets for vanilla World of Warcraft. Basically the blue sets that you got for dungeons before you stepped into raiding. The rogue set was Shadowcraft, and the druid set was Wildheart, and they've been unobtainable ever since the Cataclysm expansion. Curiously, I have every Shadowcraft piece except for the chest. I swore I had the full set, but I either misplaced or accidentally sold the chest at some point, unfortunately. The Wildheart set though, I know I didn't get every piece. As you can see, I'm missing the legs and the gloves. I just collected these as well, since they were leather anyways. And don't worry, it was after vanilla I'm pretty sure, so I didn't take it from some poor druid. I was always quite fond of these. They were like the holy grail for fresh 60s in the game. Who doesn't like collecting sets? I know that you could find better a lot of the times, but there's just something about collecting sets that's fun. Slowly and surely getting every piece for those cool set bonuses, and more importantly, to look cooler. Especially back then, when there were no transmogs, and everyone was wearing a random mishmash of gear. Clown suits are what they called them. Now who would willingly wear one of those? You'd have to be out of your mind. So, I've always held on to these because I'm quite fond of them, and I'm kicking myself for not having the chest to complete the set. Next, we have some real artifacts of the past, and those are the Green Hills of Stranglethorn pages. Anyone who's leveled in Classic knows about these. Before the Cataclysm, there's a quest in the Stranglethorn Vale Zone where you had to get a bunch of these pages to form 4 chapters of a book. They dropped from many different enemies within the zone, and it was a big scavenger hunt to get all of them, and also a good moneymaker since quests were so sparse back in the day, and people were so desperate for XP. You could buy them and sell them off of the auction house and make some decent gold while leveling to save up for your level 40 mount. I didn't hang on to these intentionally, they're just something that I had in my bags on one of my random low-level characters. Incidentally, a collector's item these days since they've been unobtainable since the Cataclysm. Next up, we have the Flag of Ownership. In previous episodes, I mentioned the TCG items, basically items that you could get via codes from the official trading card game. This is one of them. Place a flag on an enemy player's corpse in front of you. This is probably my favorite toy in the entire game. Just like it says, when you use it, you plant a flag on the enemy, and it's a little thumbs down symbol to display dominance over your slain foe, and it even has a chat emote and a funny bonk sound effect to go along with it. This has seen some heavy usage in this expansion, I'll tell you what, since I'm always in war mode, and I have a little combo going actually. I combine it with the Jinji knife set for maximum corpse desecration, and maybe even a little campfire to have a good old-fashioned cookout. Like all TCG items, it's quite rare since it's been discontinued. You can find them online, or rarely on the black market auction house. One of the best toys they've released in my opinion, and if people are slow to release, they're sure to get the flag. Here's an item that's rather special though, and that's the Mallet of Zul'Farrak. In this dungeon, there was this mysterious pool with a clickable gong, which when clicked, summoned a secret boss called Gazrilla. To interact with the gong however, you needed a special mallet. From the various mobs in the dungeon, you could loot an item called an ancient tablet, and most people wrote it off as vendor trash, but if you clicked it, it actually clued you into the location of the mallet. To get it, one must first travel to the altar of Zul to obtain the sacred mallet from a troll keeper, and next, one must bring it to the altar atop the troll city of Jintha Alor, and using the sacred mallet at the altar will infuse it with power and transform it into the Mallet of Zul'Farrak. So, a little tough to figure out where these areas were exactly, but learned adventurers would find these locations in the hinterland zone all the way across in the eastern kingdoms. You looted the sacred mallet from Kiaga the Keeper and the altar of Zul, and then you had to climb the giant city of Jintha Alor just like it said, and use it at the altar at the very top to turn it into the Mallet of Zul'Farrak. And with this, you could finally click that gong to summon the boss. So today, these are just relics of the past, as you can summon Gazrilla by just clicking the gong. The need and ability to obtain this was removed in, you guessed it, the Cataclysm. Since we're talking about Zul'Farrak though, I have to mention this item. The carrot on a stick was a quintessential trinket for levelers back in the day. Increased mount speed by 3%. It was awarded from a quest to kill Gazrilla inside the dungeon. Your first thought is that this sucks, which you're right, it does suck, but back then, trinkets were so hard to find, especially while you were leveling, and a lot of the times at this point, you didn't have any. So it was a better than nothing sort of situation, and even at the max level, since good trinkets were so rare, you'd often find level 60s running around with this thing. Just like everything else on this list, it's no longer available since the Cataclysm, but to pay testament to its prolificacy, it was re-released as a follower equipment item in the Legion expansion. So there's 10 more for you. I think maybe 1 or 2 more episodes of this, and I'll have exhausted my inventory for the most part. I hope you're enjoying the series so far though. I'll try to get back to it soon. Like the video if you liked it, and I'll see you then if you decide to join me. Peace.
Farewell for now, mortals. We hope you enjoyed today's video. See you again soon.